I started chewing brain gum about 9 months ago. And what I noticed is that it allowed me to forget less frequently. I was able to remember things that I needed to take with me in the morning. Very often when you call directory assistance, for example, and they give you a phone number and you hang up and you've instantly forgotten the phone number within 1 second. I found I was actually able to remember that phone number long enough to dial it.
I've been using brain gum for probably about 8 months, and I've noticed that there is an increase in alertness and an increase in my ability to make snap decisions in the casino business.
There's so much information that we're bombarded with these days that it's easy for one piece of information to crowd something else out. I've noticed that it allows me to keep a lot more going on in my mind.
I've tried every memory-enhancing product on the market. None of them seems to work anywhere near what brain gum does.
That it seems to help me in my day-to-day, all the millions of details that I have to remember.
When I do use it or when I've run out of it at times, I've noticed the difference between the time when I do use the brain gum and when I don't use the brain gum.
I notice a difference when I don't. If I stop for a period of time, I do notice that things start to slip away a little more frequently.
I believe my memory is twice as good now that I'm using brain gum.
Now, we all forget some things sometimes, like where we put our keys or why we walked into a certain room, but short-term memory loss like that affects some people more than others. Now, there's one man who claims that he has a cure for this, a cure that you can chew. It's called brain gum. Kelly tried it and is here to tell us about it.
Well, Chuck, one scientist right here in Los Angeles believes there is a cure for short-term memory loss, and it's a chewing gum he says can help you forget all about forgetting.
Has this ever happened to you? You walk in the grocery store and then go blank on what you wanted to buy. Or do you sometimes forget where you put those car keys? Chemical engineer Brian English knows what we're talking about.
I was getting senior moments. There's nothing worse than being in the middle of a business meeting and just literally spacing out.
English is the inventor of brain gum, which he claims restores a naturally occurring nutrient known as PS to the neurons of the brain.
PS is responsible for concentration in your brain. So as you lose PS, you develop short-term memory loss. In other words, in your 20s, it's a set of car keys, a pair of sunglasses you can't find.
English claims 2 pieces of his brain gum delivers 85 milligrams of PS to your brain, and that over a short period, the PS lost through age is restored to the brain cells. Rick Kano swears by the gum. He lost more than 20% of his brain during surgery to remove a tumor.
It's changed my whole life around. I'm having memories of things when I was 8 and 10 years old that I'm not supposed to be able to do.
But Dr. Gary Small, who heads UCLA's Center on Aging, has his doubts about brain gum.
As far as I know, this formulation of phosphatidylserine delivered in gum form has never been tested in a double-blind placebo-controlled trial. So it's possible that people may chew this gum and it may have nothing more than a placebo effect.
Rick Kano begs to differ.
I was watching Jeopardy with my daughter the other day and almost got most of the questions right, and she's looking at me like, Dad, you're not supposed to be able to do this.
Phosphatidylserine, or PS, is a soy-based vegetable dietary supplement that helps to restore the function of worn-out nerve cells, and by doing so, improves the overall performance of the brain, including the functions of memory, learning, and concentration.
I've been in this business now for 25 years, the first 14 at the National Institutes of Health. And I can tell you that the idea of improving learning and memory has been around for millennia. Scientific attempts have been underway for decades, and yet PS is the only compound that we've used that we feel confident can improve learning and memory and reverse part of the age-related process.
People who are looking for a competitive edge are very likely the ones who are going to be the most banging on the door looking for these things, because the word is going to spread very fast that phosphatidylserine works as a memory enhancer, as a mood elevator, and in general as an optimizer of nervous and mental function.
I have a PhD from MIT, and I really noticed a difference in my memory, thanks to brain gum. I researched memory loss for many years, and brain gum is the best product I found. and it really works for me.
Now that I use brain gum, I remember things that I didn't remember before. My thoughts are a lot clearer. I remember password numbers on computers. I remember people's names that I didn't remember before. My job has become a lot easier because I can remember stuff that I did not remember.
Brain gum keeps me focused. It helps my mental alertness, and it also helps me remember just all the reports and so forth that I'm doing. Well, I've been using brain gum for 2 years, and I wouldn't be using it if it wasn't worthwhile for me to use it. I really do see the difference.
Being a stockbroker, I've noticed brain gum gives me a competitive edge because I'm able to remember all of my clients' accounts. I'm able to remember their telephone numbers. I'm able to remember particular trades and events that really makes a difference when I'm doing trading in and out all day long.
Eyewitness News at 4.
So maybe you've noticed that your memory isn't quite as good as it used to be. That can be a sticky situation for a lot of people. In our 5 till 5 report, how a new kind of chewing gum is alleged to increase your brain power. Most people chew gum for pleasure. Smokers use it to help kick the habit. But now there's a new kind of gum they say can give you a kick of a different kind. This one in your memory bank.
The gum was actually good, and it was a good flavor to it, and it really maybe stimulated you early morning after I had my breakfast.
She's talking about brain gum, and it's supposed to build your brain power. Valis and a few of her co-workers became gumshoes for a couple of weeks and investigated brain gum.
This is the last that I have of it, as a matter of fact. It's got a really good flavor. I've noticed a little bit more alertness, I guess.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So what makes this gum help your brain? Well, it contains a natural enzyme we need to stimulate our thought process. Some experts are giving the gum a thumbs up.
This product just focuses on the one, just focuses on the serine. And so these are in the brain naturally, and it does help support concentration, is how these would actually work. And so the claim that I can see that it will help concentration is possible to be true.
But what did our guinea pigs think?
It was a delicious taste, and I think it made me a little bit more alert. It acts, I think, a little bit like coffee, like if you're kind of just feeling down or need a little pep or something, then it gives you that extra kick.
The inventor, who lives here in the Southland, says this.
I was personally interested because I was getting those memory gaps, and I was thinking I was getting Alzheimer's. So I started doing research in this area, and I found this ingredient and put it in a chewing gum.
And finally, there's an excuse to chew gum in class if you're a student.
Did a study which was in our clinic, one of our clinics, and at Stanford University and at Vanderbilt University. The three of us collaborated. We used the same tests that you've seen, but we placed them in the universities as well as our clinic, and we pooled the data. And what we found is that the phosphatidylserine in the experience of all three of us was the very first compound we had studied that actually improved learning and memory in normal, healthy, aged people.
Within 3 weeks, without even realizing it, I found out that I was remembering incidental things like remembering where I put my keys or my watch and buried other things, or walking into the garage and not remember what I went into the garage for, which I no longer experience.
At the beginning of the year, I'll have a room full of new students, and before, I could not remember their names, and it was so embarrassing. Then I started chewing brain gum, and believe me, the first lesson I teach them in the fall, I've got all their names. So then the next class, when they come, I know Sarah Jane, Nancy, Josephine, whatever. I feel so good about myself now.
You know, I go to parties, and there'll be somebody I know I should know. I can't remember the name. Now, with brain gum, I know it right away. It never fails. I really need brain gum because, as a director, I have a lot of information that I have to retain, and it seems to come quicker to my head than it did before.
There have been more than 35 human studies on PS, 16 of which were controlled clinical trials, and 11 of those were double-blind. And they've consistently shown that PS benefits a number of measures of cognitive decline.
Brain gum helps me most working with numbers.
I think working with numbers is, you have to be so accurate, and brain gum really helps me stay alert, and I can work for a much longer period of time. One day, my boss came up to me after I'd been using brain gum for about 2 months, and he said, "I noticed you don't get sleepy after lunch anymore, and you're so productive. What's going on?" And I told him about brain gum, and he's a skeptic, but he tried it himself, and after 3 days, he asked me where he could get some.
The research studies with phosphatidylserine have demonstrated convincingly and consistently that improved memory function is an expected and statistically verified benefit.
There is hope out there, and that phosphatidylserine is readily available, and memory loss is not, at least now or any longer, an inevitable consequence of growing older.